Welcome to the weekend update for Liberty, Leadership, and Lies with Larry Linton. This time I'm coming to you from about 30,000 feet in the air. Just kidding. I recorded and posted the weekend update just before I departed the house to execute my leadership coaching contract in the Permian Basin. That's right, Texas, I'm headed your way for a couple of days. Texas is another one of those freedom-loving states, but that's a topic for another day. By the time most of the audience listens to the show, I will be at 30,000 feet though. This will be the first time I've flown since the start of this whole fear-mongering over a virus with over a 99% survival rate that started in March of 2020. Speaking of the virus, some good news on the vaccine mandate front over the past few days. I have to tell you though, I'm of two minds on this. First, it's great that some branch of the government recognized the overstepping or overreaching of mandates, but that leads into the second issue. For far too long, we have been taught to rely on the judicial system to right the wrongs of government when it comes to our constitutionally protected, inalienable rights. Actually, it should be the legislatures at every level of government that should be the ones handling executive branch overreach. The legislatures should read their constitutions and strictly stay within the limits on government these documents outline. As I have stated many times, this reliance on the judiciary is putting our republic under an oligarchy of despotism, where unelected lawyers in black robes decide what is and what isn't constitutional based upon their interpretation of what the Constitution says. They do not rely on what the document actually states, but impose judicial fiats based upon their biased interpretation. And you can't tell me that these judges are not biased either. Every human being has biases. It's a good thing for us when those biases are towards the original writings of the Founding Fathers and not liberal mumbo-jumbo, like finding the right to kill a human being just because of its location inside of a woman's body or because of its developmental stage. The word fetus is just a stage in human development. Like newborn, infant, toddler, adolescent, teenager, and adult, it is just a stage. And apparently, it is the stage which liberals think it is okay to kill them. Sometimes, they even want to do it to a newborn, like the former governor of Virginia once stated in a radio interview. Speaking of the oligarchy of despotism and the judicial branch assuming authority that was not granted to it in Article 3 of the Constitution, Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor let the cat out of the bag. During oral arguments last week over Mississippi's law that bans almost all abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, she let something slip. During her questioning, she revealed the truth about how the Supreme Court has assumed unconstitutional authority ever since its Marbury v. Madison decision that was handed down in 1803. That was very early in our republic's history. The Supreme Court started this process in 1803 where they decided that they themselves are the arbiters of what is and what is not constitutional. Like I've said before, isn't it convenient that one branch of the federal government gets to tell every other branch, along with the citizens, what is constitutional? Which is contrary to Article 1 of the Constitution that states all lawmaking authority rests in the legislative branch and not the executive or judicial branches. The best thing that came out of the Marbury v. Madison decision was this statement from Chief Justice Marshall. He stated the powers of the legislature are defined and limited, and that those limits may not be mistaken or forgotten. The Constitution is written. Well, as you know, even though the Constitution was written, our government has mistaken and purposely forgotten the defined and limited powers of the legislature. We shall see, though, if the Supreme Court ends up deciding that there is not a right in the Constitution to conduct state-sanctioned murder of the most innocent among us. We also need to wait and see if the rest of the electorate will pick up on what Sotomayor laid down, the fact that the Supreme Court has been exceeding its Article 3 authority for more than 200 years now. Until next week, this has been the weekend update of Liberty, Leadership, and Lies with Larry Linton. I pray you all have a wonderful weekend. Stand in the arena with me. Reveille, it's time to wake up.